That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Yeah. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Yeah. What's going on, boys?
What's
going on,
up?
everybody? Welcome to Fishing Saturday Live. A little bit different. We let Trey get settled in from his first open experience after day 2 yesterday. They had a little travel today to where they're staying for a couple days before he comes home. So we figured we'd push it a day so we could talk to him about that. But before we do that, make sure you go over to onecastfishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast. Checkout, all one word. Grab yourself some of the snagless jigs, long neck hooks, weedless nets, and all those soft plastics. From there, you can head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Also, the code TheOneCast. Grab you some of that performance wear hats. They've got some new hooded sweatshirts out. So make sure you go check them out. Hobie Eyewear, we talk about them all the time. Use the link in the description, links in all of our social links that we post all the time. That will get you hooked up with discount on the Hobie Eyewear. I'm sure Trey talked about how good it was to have those down there in Florida and all that sunshine. From there, make sure you download the Deep Dive app on your store of choice on your phone, your app store. You get great fishing information there, water levels, wind directions, wind blown points, inflows, outflows, all the juice you need to help break down a body of water before you ever get onto it. Last but not least, make sure if you're looking to move down here to Central North Carolina, you hit up our buddy Uncle Terry Carpenter, licensed NC Realtor at Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston. Uncle Terry will find you your home that you're looking for and take care of all that for you. So you can reach out to him at carpentert@hpw.com. And I think I got everybody. Did I forget anybody? I don't think so.
Dude, I'm super proud. You nailed that, bro.
Yeah, there we go. Usually we let Trey go with it, but you know. Yeah. So Trey, how you feeling, bud?
Man, I'm first and foremost, got to give a huge shout out to One Cast Fishing, man. It wouldn't be possible without One Cast Fishing, and it was really cool to get to promote all the partners and stuff on the stage for the opens. As far as the way that I'm feeling physically, I'm absolutely exhausted. There's like no questions about it. My hands hurt, my forearms hurt. My back hurts. This is, these young kids. Now, don't get me wrong. Like the old guys are hanging in there. Obviously, there was quite a few OGs in the top 10 and stuff like that. But I think Mike and I are pretty smoked from a physical perspective. Outside of that, though, man, it was great. We had a great time, and it was a great icebreaker for 2026. I'm looking forward to. Not only fishing the opens, but coming back and fishing with you, the Fishers and Men 2026 season. I'm super pumped about that. And I think staying on the water is the number one thing when it comes to competitive bass fishing, like just staying on the water and understanding fish behavior and patterns and everything like that. This was a no forward-facing sonar event. So for me, I actually got to realize how much I actually relied on that technology a lot to expedite the decision-making process to stop or to stay or to stop or go. So that was a great experience in itself. I tried to get as much scoping in towards the end of the year before I left for Florida. And I actually wish I would have done the exact opposite, which was take it completely off my boat, which I did. But nevertheless, like it was great, man. So you guys fire away with anything that you want to ask me or Mike. Mike's here playing Susie Homemaker and making some dinner for us.
Housewife tonight.
Housewife Mike.
Housewife Mike, I like it.
So yeah, you guys fire away and ask, man.
I don't know. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start what the plan was, or
yeah, we can.
Or do you want to talk about like just get some of the issues you had out of the way, and then we can talk about the fishing?
So
one thing real quick before you answer that, Tony Acreage in the chat just wanted to shout them out. I know they got you squared away before you rolled down there, so you want to give them a quick shout out for
that. Yeah, huge huge, man. Logistics is like, I don't even know, like probably 90% of the battle. And you can't compete if you can't get to the tournament, right? The tournament location. And so Black Tire and Auto 414 East Main Street in Sanford, North Carolina, man, they have been fantastic partners over the last decade. Even before Tony and Jessica started working there, I've been doing business there for a long time. And right before I hit the road, they slapped a new set of tires on the truck and made sure that I was good to go. They don't only do tires for your vehicle; they take care of all of our boat trailer needs as well. I know Mike came up. Was it last year? Year before last?
Yeah, last year on the way to Potomac, had a flat tire. Not only did I have an odd size, I have custom tires, so they're like 17-inch rims on the trailer. Got me same-day service, got me in and out. I never lost a second of travel headed to the Potomac, so that was great.
Yep, absolutely. So, they keep you on the road, man. So keep you on the road with your truck tires, your trailer tires, and any of those other things that you need to get to and from the location you're going to. So thanks so much to Black Tire and Auto, man. So you want me to roll? So I'll just
so Chelsea put up a question. She asked, "Tell us about the maintenance team and how big of a benefit that was." So if you want to we can jump into that part, then we can start talking about practice and tournaments and stuff.
She said, and also how it benefits how the anglers benefit from their services.
Yeah, for sure. So Bassmaster, from the Elite Series level to the Division I and Division II in the Opens. They run a full service yard from Mercury Yamaha technicians, Minn Kota. They have a whole variety, right? I don't know all of them. What I actually needed was somebody that focused on Minn Kota because I run an Ultrex, not the Quest, but the OG version Ultrex on my boat. So they have, before the tournaments before the tournament happens, they push out the Opens like service schedule, when the technicians are going to be there, what locations they're going to be at. They're not at the ramp, right? So they were for these purposes in Kissimmee or on the Kissimmee chain. They were right down the road at the convention center, and they have hours of operation. That being said, Hank Weldon from Bass, he's very accessible, and I contacted him after the first day of the tournament when I didn't have a trolling motor, and I said, "Hey, these are issues I'm having." And Hank was like, "Let's get you squared away. We want to get you on the water." I can get on the water, but he was like, "I want to get you fishing effectively." So the technicians showed up at 6:30. A blast off was at 7. They were able to get me squared away, and I was able to blast off with the field. And so from a logistics and maintenance standpoint, like, it was very important for me to have those guys there, and they did what they could for me. I mean, it's not like they're going to make everything pretty for you, right? That's not the point. It's expedite the process, make sure it works, and get you out on the water, and you can figure the rest out later when you get from the tournament or done with the tournament. So expectation management's a huge thing. They're not going to sit there and zip tie everything. They may if it's after hours and stuff, but if it's first thing in the morning before blast off, and they even ask you, "What's your boat number?" Right? They want to know. And I was like, "I'm boat 81 for day 2." And they're like, "Man, we're going to try to get you out of here as quickly as we can." And they did a fantastic job, and I didn't have a single trolling motor issue. Right. So to answer Chelsea, hopefully I answered Chelsea's question for the group. And I can't thank Bass enough for what they do for us.
Was there a charge for that service?
No, not at all. Nope.
Awesome.
So and now granted, if you're talking maybe dropping a lower unit and you're not warranted, or
right.
And they do make it very well known, like, hey, don't bring your boat to the service yard to get serviced before you start practice, right? And that's another thing too, is the service crew is there. Mike, you can be in this if you want. The service crew is there during practice, right? So first day or when we showed up for tournament registration, I think Laker Hollow was getting his boat worked on and stuff, but they don't want you bringing your boat there to get an oil change done on it. You know what I mean? You should make sure that all that stuff is squared away prior to showing up. So yeah, man, they do a great job. I mean, I can't thank them enough, because that really would have changed everything for me on day 2, right?
Yeah, 100%. For sure. What's up, Steve Loper? Hope you're doing well. He said done well, Trey. Pete Dove surviving round 2 snow pocket, but man, we ain't got no snow over here.
Yeah, we don't have any snow yet.
We're in the Sanford Fort Bragg bubble, so they got the weather machine turned on, like Ben said before we started, making sure that we don't get no snow. We don't even have we had a dusting on the driveway about an hour ago, and that was it. There was nothing in the yard or anything. So, but I know not too far from us, Nick Kincaid over there in Western Chatham County, Siler City, they got like 6 inches. So it's pretty crazy the way those bands are working right now. But so you got down there last week, and you had 3 days of practice and an off day. So you just kind of want to run through your thought process, because this is your first big solo tournament with official practice days and out there kind of on your own.
Yeah, for sure. So luckily, Mike, he's been fishing the national level trails with, Major League Fishing Toyota Series for years now. He fished the MPFL, so he's been doing it. This is kind of home-ish for Mike. And when you look at the Kissimmee chain in itself, like it's overwhelming, right? It's vastly different than Highland reservoirs. It's vastly different than anything that we fish, minus maybe the Roanoke River and Pamlico Sound or Albemarle Sound and stuff. But the practice for me was, as long as you're talking to a fellow competitor, at any point in time, you can share information, right? You can't talk to anybody else. That's the no information rule. Chelsea says hi, by the way.
Yes. Hey, Chelsea.
So our decision, we're kind of working as a team, right? Like you see a lot of that on the road, like guys and gals are working as teams and stuff to break down bodies of water. It just makes it more efficient, especially with no scope. So the game plan for us was to hit, and I'll tell you where I went wrong, or not wrong, but I just didn't expand enough. Our plan was to hit the middle section of the chain, which consists of Cypress, Cypress, the river, Cypress, more of the river, or Hatchnahaw and more river, right? Whatever. On the first day. And then the second day was to hit Lake Kissimmee. And that's where it stopped. And then the third day was Toho. But so the first day we found a shallow pattern, and we're fishing areas that, because the water temperature, like you would think like the fish would be moving up, they would start to make beds or whatever the case may be. And we did. We had some success fishing shallow, and wind was a huge factor too. Man, there was like a million different things going on at one time, and each one of those lakes is vastly different than the other. They don't fish the same. None of them do, really, from what I saw. So day one for me started with Mike and I, launching in the southern end of Toho, but not really playing around on Toho too much, going through the lock to get that experience. I've never went through a lock in my boat. I went with Mike years ago, but I'd never been through the lock. I'll tell you one piece of advice for anybody that's going through a lock system. It's a smart move to take a picture of the numbers on the side of your boat, especially if the lock is filled up with a bunch of people. And I saw that happen where guys didn't know what the numbers were on the side of their boat, so they'd having to bend over and maybe take pictures. So because the lock master will ask you, like, what's your boat number? And then they assign you a number. So getting that experience was a huge success for me going through the lock.
But they asked you your registration number?
Yeah, they did. That's
really? Is that normal, Mike? Because
it's a safety thing. So a lot of people, the chain is so vast, and going through the locks, because you can go straight from Toho Marina all the way down to Okeechobee.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of boat wrecks recently. A lot of people have drowned on the Kissimmee chain. So it helps them keep track. So when the lock closes, if they see you haven't come back through, and then there's a missing person report, FWC can check the records. That boat's registered in your name. You came to that. So now they got a timeline at least established for when you went missing. So yeah, standard procedure for that.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know if that may be, I don't know if that's new or whenever on the Harris chain, if I went through locks, maybe
No. So Harris chain is totally different. It's not as vast as a Kissimmee. I think mainly it's a regulation because you can go potentially intercoastal from Toho, and I think that's why it's such a large lot. So
makes sense.
So yeah, getting that experience on day one was critical because, you know, if I was going to lock during the tournament, which I did, I wanted to know what that was all about. You know, started off hit myself, and I won't speak for Mike, but started off hitting some areas in the river, which has riprap on both sides and deep water in the middle, and you know, had some bites in there on a jerk bait. Also want to give a huge shout out to Ben Willis, who I fished last year for the Take a Warrior Fishing Saltwater Slam. We ended up doing really well in that charity tournament for veterans. He sent some custom jerk baits to me, and I was able to catch some fish on them. And they're really, really nice painted jerk baits. Actually caught a keeper right next to a gentleman that pulled up who was a fellow competitor. You know how people try to hide their fish and stuff, but I think the thing was a 12-inch squeaker. Name was Lee Harper, really nice gentleman too, from Eufaula, Alabama. So caught some fish in the river, nothing of any size. Made my way down to Cypress, right?
Yep.
Made my way down to Cypress. Mike was down there as well. Found a little bit of a topped out or submerged hydrilla pattern and some shallow water patterns against.
Trey found his new favorite weed.
Yeah, it's called mother-in-law weed, and it sticks to everything, and it wraps around everything that you ever have in the water. And so I had to stand on my power pole brackets numerous times to untangle this stuff from behind my boat. It was ridiculous. But yeah, Mike found something there on a buzz bait, and I found something there on a swim jig. And then when the sun actually was able to break free from the clouds and the water kind of settled down a bit, I was able to see some beds, right? But there wasn't a lot of fish on them, but there was definitely beds there, and I caught one off the bed accidentally, like I've done before with a swim jig. And then we moved down to Hatch-and-a-Haw. And Mike fished a little bit of the river on the way down to Hatch, didn't you?
Yeah.
You didn't find any success there?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing there. And mind you, anything in Florida that had, you know, the Kissimmee chain doesn't have a lot of shell bars. But if it does have a shell bar and you can find it, it's a great pre-spawn staging location and post-spawn staging location. So usually the mouths of these rivers have some shell and stuff built up, but you can tell where they're at. You don't even have to side scan or anything. There's boats always fishing it. Shiner fishermen are great as a recon tool. If the shiner fishermen are there, there's probably bass in the area. So saw some people fishing the mouths, but we didn't stop there, and we went down into Hatch. There's a strong north wind for the first couple of days of practice, and we'll get to that later. But we found a little bit in Hatch, and I found some offshore fish side scanning some holes, and you know, and I knew that there were bass, but I wasn't able to fish it on day one. And then that pretty much wraps up day one of practice. So it was like southern end of Toho, got the lock, got the river, Cypress, and a little bit of Hatch, but really not a whole lot, right? Water temperatures around that 60 to 62 degrees. So it wasn't like quite right for spawning, I guess, maybe, or maybe they were post-spawn. I don't really know. But yeah, you want to jump in anything on day one that you may see?
Also, day one, remember the water temperatures were warmer.
Yes. Oh, that's a huge thing. Yes.
So we actually hit 65, maybe 67.
Yeah.
But the winds, we had just about every day was 19 to 20 mile an hour sustained winds. So these lakes are wide open, and Trey learned that no matter if you get up against the bank where the wind's blowing from, Florida's so flat, it doesn't make a difference. So if it's blowing 20 mid-lake, it's still blowing 18 and a half at the shore that the wind's coming from, because there's nothing to break it. So it's nothing to have white caps coming 2 foot off the shore on a wind blown, whether wind's coming from direction. So Trey learned that, thinking he would get out of the wind. And I think he learned that 1 second you turn a corner, it's foot and a halfer, and then you turn another corner and it's 3.5 feet.
Yep, for sure. And I'll tell you, right, like being in the Carolinas, like what is high bluebird skies with sun and wind result in like a bait of choice. Well, that was for me, I covered a lot of water with a half ounce. No, I bought a new spinner bait, a golden shiner spinner bait, and put a one cast fishing.
Technically, he didn't buy it, but anyway.
Yeah, he bought it for me because he said he would. So, but paired a one cast fishing 5-inch sunfish paddle tail swim bait on a Booyah shiner colored Colorado blade spinner bait, and was able to cover a lot of water. Those Colorado blades really helped float that over the grass, and that paddle tail kept it nice. And I didn't get a single bite on a spinner bait, but I covered a lot of water with it. And I was actually we were actually just trying to see like where fish were at, right? Not necessarily catch them, but just see where a good population of fish was at. Granted, that day you were able to get several bites and catch several fish on a very specific buzz bait.
Everybody knows. If I'm fishing and I can throw a buzz bait, my cutoff for Florida is 50-degree water. If it's lower than that, I won't throw a buzz bait. And so we were upper 60s or mid 60s. So yes, I'm chunking a buzz bait around. I probably caught 17 pounds on a buzz bait. Best 5 was great. But I want to add something about the spinner bait. Actually, I didn't buy it for Trey. I bought it to keep him from buying it from the tackle to get all of them. And then he stole one out of the collection I bought. So, but that's another story.
Experiences may vary. What's up, Stephen Pellerin and Brian, Ken, David?
I do got a question about tournament waters because you guys were Cypress and Hatchet. Like, did they cut off where you could go? I mean, I know you can go all the way down to Kissimmee, but I see all those other lakes like Alligator and Gentry and all that other stuff to the east a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not connected.
So the five lakes that were allowed were Toho, Cypress, Hatchnahaw, Kissimmee, and Tiger Lake. Right, Tiger Lake is off to the west side of Kissimmee. Or Kissimmee or Hatch? Where's Tiger? Is it off Kissimmee?
It's off Kissimmee.
It's off Kissimmee. So you couldn't lock through. What's up, Veda?
Oh, Veda.
You couldn't lock through the southern end of Kissimmee. That was the cutoff, right? But I mean, that's a lot of water.
That's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot of water. So, but yeah, that pretty much wraps up day 1 of practice. Heavy winds, not a ton of bites. Mike said he caught 17 pounds, but that was really on day 2 of practice, right?
I thought we were on day 2.
No, we're on day 1.
Oh,
So day 2, unless you guys have any questions about day 1.
Talk about day 2.
Really?
So day 2, we launch at a different location. We go all the way down to the southern end of Kissimmee.
We went mid. Or Camp Mac.
Yeah, we went to Camp Mac. Camp Mac, which is right below Lake Hatchnahaw. We launched there. If you've never been to Camp Mac and you guys are going to fish the Kissimmee chain, like it is probably the best place to put in. They have a great tackle store there. The people are super awesome. They have like little campfires in the morning where the old guys sit out in front and just talk fishing and stuff like that. Really cool place. I think it's like $5 to park or something like that.
$4 or $5.
$4 or $5. They give you a little parking pass to hang on your rearview mirror, and you can dump right in there, and you can go out, take a left, and go straight to Hatchnahaw, or you can go out and take a right, and it dumps right into Kissimmee. So we went down to Kissimmee. Kissimmee is the biggest lake on that chain, and we're trying to find fish, and it for me that day was all about idling. It was all about staying behind the steering wheel and looking for offshore places. Right? Granted, Mike talked about the water temperature. We're still looking at like low 60s water temperature. So you go from Toho, right, which was in high 50s on day 1, to the southern end, which was warmer. And that's where, in our minds, the best bites were going to be. Now, granted, I didn't fish a whole lot that day, but I did get some bites, and I marked a ton of offshore brush piles and things like that I was like, hey, if I'm going to come down here and they're not really shallow, I'm going to start targeting brush piles. And I was targeting them with down scan and side scan and marked a ton of fish. Got some bites, punching some hyacinth mats with a 1 ounce weight, which was not effective for what we'll talk about later. And then Mike had a very different day. Mike put together a solid shallow water pattern and caught the snot out of them and good fish too. Right now, mind you, some people say, well, why are you catching fish in practice? Well, it's Florida. There's a ton of fish that live there. I also say the same thing. I don't catch a lot of fish in practice, but nevertheless, it is also Florida, and there's a high probability that more load on that place, and there's a high probability that they leave that place too. So really just depends on the time of the season. But Mike had a good practice. We had a good practice later on in the afternoon. We really found something that was holding a ton of bait, holding a ton of fish. And it was at that moment that I knew that I wasn't throwing the right bait. Later on in the afternoon, right before we left, Mike slid over. Oh, I'm sorry. That's day 3. So, yeah. So day 2 went really well for Mike. At the end of the day, we went back to the Airbnb and we talked about it. And this is where I made a huge mistake on my end, because my plan was from a tournament side, that it was a mistake, but everything else was a positive experience, man. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Like, this was a all positive experience for us. Right. That night we had a conversation about, I was going to make the decision to go to Toho and Mike was going to go back to Kissimmee. And then I made the decision to go to Kissimmee with Mike to break down what he had found even further, because he truly believed, and we truly believed, that like there was a legit possibility, and there was, by the way, some checks were cashed out of Kissimmee that we were able to land on something special and put a bag together. So day 3, do you guys got any questions about day 2?
No.
Day 3 rolls around. We go to the very southern end of Kissimmee, and we put in at called Grape Hammock, right? And we dealt with a little bit of mechanical stuff going on with Mike's trailer in the morning, so we really didn't get out on the water until about 9 o'clock. Granted, it was like super brutally cold. The winds were gassing still, like they were the day before. And so it didn't hurt any of our feelings to get out on the lake until the sun kind of came up anyways and started getting warm. We went out and we ran some new water on the southern end of Kissimmee, and we found a isolated Kissimmee grass bite flipping. And we felt pretty good about that. And then we ran around. We found some clean water, which is important in Florida. So we found some clean water. We found some flipping fish. And then we spent pretty much the rest of our day kind of up in a different portion of Kissimmee, where we ended up finding a ton of bait stacked up there that really wasn't molested by the wind. And it was a great place to really target fish, both in Kissimmee grass pads, hyacinth mats, and stuff like that. And that's when Mike was able to get several bites on a buzzbait. And then he came over, gave me a buzzbait, and I didn't realize how much of a difference it really made between the sounds that a buzzbait made, or maybe the profile. I don't really know what it was, but I can tell you the buzzbait that I was throwing wasn't working. So when he gave me the buzzbait, I was able to hook up with almost a 4-pounder. Complete accident. I didn't try to catch the fish, but you know how it is with a buzzbait. They eat it. You know, you're kind of not pulling it away from them. And I was like, man, this area is loaded, absolutely loaded with fish. And that's when we made the decision. Hey, we're going down to Kissimmee. Day 1, we're going to make that run. I don't care if it takes an hour, 2 hours, whatever. We felt good about the area. And that wraps up practice. And then the next day was an off day, but it's not really an off day because you got to do tournament. You got to do like the meeting. You got to do the insurance check. You got to do the license check, all that stuff, which was very well run by Bass. Give them credit on that one too. And now we're moving into tournament time. So what are your questions up until this point?
Well, you found where you want. You found the fish, found where to start, and it just so happened to be the furthest point you had to go from.
1,000%.
I was running that tracker around that 19-foot tracker out there and all that.
Okay, so that's mistake number one, right? So didn't have a trail from Toho Marina all the way down to Kissimmee, right? So day one of blast off, I'm boat 101. Mike, what are you, boat 72?
72, yeah.
So Mike's boat 72, I'm boat 101. Now, granted, if you have good mapping products, you can see, right, where you need to run and where you don't need to run.
And we did go over. I showed him on the map.
Yeah.
Now, it's totally different than Rhino get. But being we didn't go, and I know Toho so well, we went over the map that night, and I told Trey which way to cut around this island to go and just follow the channel markers straight down. It is kind of cut and dry. I was nervous for him, though, because I understand a totally new lake. I'm just expecting you to just beat foot and just run straight across. I wasn't worried he would hit something. I worried about his confidence getting shooken about just riding the new lake.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain, and I'm not telling you to go out there and try to run squares across Toho and not hit anything, but there's nothing to hit in the middle of Toho other than a sandbar I'll tell you about later that I found really on day one running across. But
yeah, so I mean, day one we blast off, right? Mike runs down. You can tell him about it right now. What happened to you running down? I'm gonna grab something.
I was making it. There's a cut or swing in the middle of the lake that kind of swings to the west shore of Toho. I know a cut across the sand flat. The water's up, so I was like, I can cut even more off of this right turn if I go even further into the line and the reeds. And so I did. I went from 63 miles an hour to 48 miles an hour really quickly. Luckily, my boat's so heavy, it just skipped across like a really fat rock with a fat guy driving. And I made it through. But then I was like, wow, horrible idea. There's hardly any paint left on my skeg now, by the way. But there's sand there. But I knew Trey wasn't going to make that run because it's new to him. He's going to follow the channel marker, so I wasn't worried about him doing stupid stuff. So I proceeded to do the stupid stuff. Get down to the lock. I felt like I was sitting there like 5 minutes, and here rolls up Trey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it didn't take long for me to make it down to the lock. I mean,
it's kind of slow.
It's actually pretty slow the way that they blast off because unlike other formats, yes, Brandon Parsons, we're still in Florida. Congratulations, dude, on you busting them too. And Veda, I'll get to your question here in a minute with the buzz bait. It ended up they like a squealer, not a clacker. That's really what it boiled down to. So so I get down to the lock. I did follow the channel markers. It actually really helped me out to see where people were fishing too. And I know that's a crappy thing to say, but like it made a lot of sense later on. It'll make a lot of sense later on in the day. Especially not practicing Toho at all. And that's where I caught all my fish, by the way. So get down to the lock. We lock through. Mike's able to get through in the first tranche. I think they took 12 or 13 boats in the lock. That's a whole bumper car situation in itself. It's really funny, but we were having a good time. Mike and I were having a good time, and we were able to get some people smiling and stuff that are all stressed out. You know, like for us, it's all fun and representing those who support us the most. For some of these guys, they're really like serious about making the EQs, which don't get me wrong, we all are. But nevertheless, like we were able to tell some jokes and have a good time while the lock was opening up. And then Mike locks through, and then eventually I was able to lock through. And I think there was about, 70 boats maybe that locked through that day. So definitely people had stuff on Cypress, Hatchinahaw, and Kissimmee. You just didn't know where they were going. And then, blast off was at 7:00. And I will say that I didn't get down and start fishing until 9:00 in Kissimmee. Right. So it's not a 2-hour run, but it took 2 hours to get down there. In fact, I didn't blast off until 7:20 in the morning, and I didn't start fishing until 9. So really less than 2 hours. Got down there to that spot that we had found on the last day of practice. Mike went to a different area where he was very confident in. And for me, it took me about 30 to 45 minutes to pull the trolling motor up and move to a second spot. When I moved, that second spot was way further south. probably close to the most southern, not the southern part, but pretty close to the most southern part of Kissimmee that you can get. And that's when my trolling motor decided to stop working, right? Now, if anybody remembers, I had these trolling motor issues when I was at Lake Norman fishing the Special Operations Bass Anglers event with Mike and Pete, Seth Ellis, who won that event. And so I thought that there was something else going on besides a power switch. And so I didn't have a trolling motor. It was at that moment that I made a decision after not having trolling motor and kind of drifting past Kissimmee grass and flipping it, that I was like, I can't do this and I'm burning time. So I need to make the run back north. So I ran back up to Hatch and I tried to mess around with a trolling motor to get it working. It was kind of working intermittently, but it kept shutting off. And I tried to fish offshore and that wasn't working. Especially because the wind was pretty strong on day one. And I was trying to throw a drop shot offshore, right? So then I pulled the trolling motor back up after I was able to turn it on and get it to actually pan. And then I ran back up to Cypress, and I knew that we found some fish on a very shallow flat that was in maybe 2 foot of water. And so I kind of just ran in, set the big engine down, and I drifted to where I wanted to stop, and I hit the power poles, and I stopped. And then I would cast around with a chatterbait or a bladed jig, a buzz bait, a swim jig. I'd power pull up. I'd let the wind push me a little bit further, and I'd do the same thing over and over again. It was just completely inefficient. The service crew is available by this point, right? But I would have lost every bit of fishing time. So then I power pulled up. I started the big engine. I ran all the way back up. Me, Bobby Bakewell, and Fred Rumbanis were at the lock. They locked through before me, and I power pulled down in the river and tried to catch fish off a point that I had caught them on a jerk bait. That didn't happen. So then I had to wait for the lock to do its thing. The lock opens back up. I go in there, and I lock through, and I run all the way to the northern end of Toho, and I set the boat down, and it's about probably one-ish, maybe a little after 1 at this point. I power pull down in some eelgrass, and I just go to chucking a lipless crankbait. And fortunately for me, I was able to get 2 fish in the boat, and I wasn't able to get my first fish in the boat until 3 o'clock. I was doing it 3:50. I got my first fish in the boat at 3 o'clock. I got my second fish in the boat at 3:30, and then I had to go in for weigh-in, right? So those 2 fish were 3 pounds, 15 ounces, and I was sitting like 146 or something like that after day 1. I'll let Mike. What did you figure out on day 1? And I'll tell you what I figured out, by the way.
So one thing we did leave out is the temperatures dropped before launch day 1. So we went from mid 60-degree water temps to mid 50-degree water temps over 2 days of the temperature drop. And at takeoff, it was 32 degrees. I was about dead of frostbite because it's way too cold to be in Florida and 32 freaking degrees. I had ice on my boat, and my boat don't see ice very often. So even I think my boat was like, what is going on? Why are we here? But so that changed a lot of dynamics for fish we had found. And when I got into Kissimmee, I knew I was kind of in trouble because when I got to my first spot, there was no bait. And I have a 2-mile stretch of bait. I had found shallow fish, and I'm looking at 56-degree water temps, and I'm like, man, this buzz bait better work. Well, I didn't calculate colder temps. I'm not used to fishing that much of a temperature swing in Florida. We don't. If it's a temperature swing, anything, the water's higher in level, not lower. So I still stuck with my buzz bait pattern because it worked so well in practice. I wasn't counting on short strikes on a buzz bait. I hooked up. I must have lost probably 7 or 8 good fish on day 1 that bit just barely got the hook in their lips. And the second they would jump, they would throw the bait. I don't run a trailer hook. That's my bad. I don't like throwing a trailer hook. I throw a buzz bait in topped out. I throw it in lily pad. I throw it in topped out Kissimmee grass and hydrilla. A trailer hook catches up on that stuff. So I don't throw a trailer hook. Probably might not ever change that, but that cost me a lot on day 1. As we saw, I come back with 1 fish for 2 pounds. And what I had to end up doing was adapting. And it was end of the day. probably 12:40, and I'm searching. I'm looking for brush piles offshore. I'm moving out because I finally figured out, like, oh, hey, idiot, these fish aren't up shallow. You can beat this bank all day, and there's no fish here. Moved out, made a couple flips, boom, caught a keeper. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Then I'm like, well, man, I got to get back. Wind's going to be yelling. I run back. That's how I ended my day. One fish, day one.
And that's what happened, right? So Brandon Parsons said I slipped off my trailer and got my feet wet first thing. Yeah, Brandon, I remember you coming up, man. I hate that happened for you, but you're able to still put something together. And look, the fishing. I mean, if you guys look at the tournament results, day one, like. They weren't getting blasted. There was a couple people that were blasting them, but they found something pretty special. But yeah, man. So I will say this though, had I not had trolling motor problems, honestly, there's a high probability that I never would have done what I did yesterday, right? And even caught 3 fish. And there's way more to that story, but I look at every tragedy as an opportunity, for something positive to happen. And really, that's what it boiled down to. So, like Mike said, water temperatures dropped, but Toho's water temperatures didn't drop.
Really?
No,
not as much. I mean, a couple degrees.
It
wasn't as drastic.
It wasn't as drastic.
Why do you think that is? Is Toho just deeper?
And I'm not a meteorologist here, but Toho's at the north end of the chain. The wind was coming out of the north. And I felt like it was blowing, that cold air was blowing water down the lake. So Toho, with the stream still running in, all that colder water was just getting blown out just as quick as it was coming in. Maybe that's not how it's working, but in my mind, that's the only thing I can come up with logically to make it make sense. And I feel like with 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing straight out of the north, it was just pushing the colder water south.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Toho truly did have warmer water temperatures based on, like the graphs and stuff like that. So, after all the adversity on day one, and oh, by the way, it's not like Mike was in a bad area because there was a couple other anglers that ended up making like a top 15 that were in his area.
Yeah, Brett Height was sitting in 11th after day one. Yeah. He come by me. Actually, backstory was I needed a bait from a company he's sponsored by. Brett Height is an upstanding angler. I'd never had any interaction with him before. Anyway, I walked up to him the day prior when we were getting ready, or we were getting our boat inspections on media day. And I walked up to his truck, introduced myself, and I was like, hey, I see you're sponsored by this company. Do you have any of these baits? I'll buy them off of you. And he was like, hey, I don't have them with me. I'll go back to my camper. If I got some, you're welcome to them. Calls me later that day. He's like, yeah, I've got a couple. You want to just meet them? I was like, yeah, I'll get them from you at the meeting. Forgot that. Anyway, brings them on the water that morning. Well, I made a joke. I'm fishing a spot that I found fish. Well, here comes Brett Height rolling up. And I said, well, if I'd have known you were going to put an air tag in my bait, I probably wouldn't have took those baits. And we laughed, we chuckled, and fished. When I left that area, he was still there. 17, 18 minutes after I left, when I left, he had 0 fish too. And I left 17 and 18 minutes later, he proceeded to whack them. So I left too early. He ended up putting 17, almost 18 pounds on the boat. Mm-hmm. If I'd have stuck it out or been a legend in the sport, I could have caught 18 pounds.
But yeah, I mean, you can be in the right area all day long, but for that area, it was all about timing. And it was all about, like, there was maybe 1 day's worth of fishing in that area, but after you caught them all, like you may not catch them again. Right. It really just depended. There's a theory that they were on bed, but you couldn't see the beds. And there was a theory that they were in some different areas. Well, it's not a theory. They were definitely in areas that your boat was going right over and you just didn't know it. Right. So Kissimmee absolutely had the fish to cast a check. But for me, after I got back to the ramp on day one, I had about 4 gallons of gas left, right? Maybe 5. And so, going into day 2, I knew I had no shot at making, well, that's not true, but I didn't think I had a shot at making day 3 And we didn't even think day 3 was going to go down because of the winds, but it came out of the west, so that was different. So day 2, I made the decision, like, I'm going to stay in Toho, and I'm going to maximize my fishing time.
And you found that area.
And I found an area that was absolute. I mean, the last 40 minutes of fishing, I was able to put 2 in the boat, right? And look, like 4 pounds is not. It wasn't like you weren't out of it, which is crazy, right? Just kind of shows you. In fact, you could have zeroed on day 1 and came back with 25 pounds on day 2 and cut a check, 20 pounds almost and cut a check. So. And there were a handful of people that zeroed on day 1, brought 1 fish back. I mean, some of the top level pros, it was just fishing rough. And so day 2, I made the decision. I'm staying in Toho, and I'm gonna do what I know and what caught me fish, and that was going with a lipless crankbait. Right? You guys can see this was one of the ones that I had on my, and the other one looks worse than this. That's tied on the rod right now. And by no means are we sponsored by this company, have no affiliation with this company, but this is, if anybody knows, it's Strike King Red Eye Shad, gold with a black back. And so day 1, Mike, or day 2, you go back down to Kissimmee because you had confidence in it and go back to some of those areas. And I go back to the area that I ended up catching my 2 fish, but I didn't start there. I started in another area a little bit further down the lake that had the same exact setup, but all I caught out of there was pickerel. I mean, all I caught out of there was pickerel. I couldn't get a bass bite. So I decided to make a move to run back up. And mind you, and I'm not used to this, but there was about, 25 people in that area, all in the same area, fishing the same stuff. And
is that the north end of Toho?
Yep, the northern end of Toho.
Could you see the marina?
For sure.
Was it all that eelgrass and stuff?
Yep.
Hydrilla? Yeah.
Yep. So made the decision to go back where I caught those 2 fish on day 1, power pulled down, and started chucking and winding a lipless crankbait. It wasn't until 12:17 that I got the first fish in the boat, and I actually put it in bass track, and everyone thought that I only had 1 fish. I'll roll through the rest of my day, and I'll let Mike roll through. I'll make it quick because I know we're at 47 minutes. So you had 6 or 7 different anglers behind me. I was pulled down on a point that had vegetation on it. I catch 1 fish. They're catching fish behind me, and it was Brock Bila, Anastasia Patterson, a couple other people. Brock Bila at this point has about 19 pounds in the box. He actually had more than that. But he caught all his fish first thing in the morning right there. We all go – he said, hey, come on over here. We all go over there, and there's like 6 boats in a line, and we're all fishing this deep hole. This is afternoon, of course. The one thing that I noticed was that the water temperatures were steadily increasing, and nobody's catching fish. So I made the decision to turn around and go right back to where I caught fish at, because I figured with the water temperatures increasing, the fish are probably sliding up. They're not going out. When I did that, I caught a fish that was over 5 pounds. I caught another fish that was almost 4 pounds. And then, and you can't control this, Anastasia comes over. She catches a fish. I'm really happy for her. She got 3 in the box. I dump another 5-pounder, and I dump another fish that was almost 4 pounds, right? So right there, from a tournament result standpoint, I went from 10 and a half pounds of fish. I had 19 to 20 pounds worth of fish on, right? But that's how it goes, right? That was the difference between a 110th place finish and a 40 to 50 place finish with 2 fish, right? I was super pumped about that. I was able to get those fish in the boat. Did it make me sad that I lost 2 really big fish? Absolutely, right? But if you guys fish a lipless crankbait, Pete, I know you fish one a lot and you're really good at it. You guys know that if you get one treble hook in the side of their lip and there's a bunch of vegetation pushed up against their face, they have a high probability of throwing that stuff, right? And we're talking water that's about this deep, We're not talking big, deep water. We're talking as soon as you cast it out, you got to start burning it in, or else it's going to get laid up in some vegetation. And granted, there's probably more pickerel in that the Kissimmee chain than I've ever seen.
Chain pickerel.
Yeah, chain pickerel, man. I'll tell you what, I probably caught at least 15 of those. They'd have this thing buried so far down in their gullet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really that, when I was able to get the trolling motor from the service center and really settle down and not worry about forward-facing sonar and absolutely just make 8,000 casts in that day, like that was the difference between me having no fish in the box and putting 3 up at the scales. And, that jumped me up like, I don't know, maybe 40 positions in the standings, which is good for Angler of the Year points. It's really hard to do anything when you have 99 points. You really need to kind of average around that like 120 to 150 range with points to make the EQs, which obviously wasn't a huge goal of mine, but now that I'm in it, now I want to do it. But nevertheless, day 2 was awesome, man. Like, had a great time and put all my fish in the boat with a lipless crankbait and really made it stupid simple. The only other thing that I was casting around to try to generate extra bites was a really big swim bait, and a really big bladed jig, because for me, they didn't want anything slow. They didn't want a worm. I tried throwing a big 5-inch paddle tail one cast fishing stinger around. It wasn't going fast enough for them. They wanted it really, really fast, and it was all about reaction strikes. So that pretty much sums up day 2 for me. And Mike, you got anything to add on day 2?
I won't even bore you with my day. And I was telling Trey about my day. It just stunk. It was a good day. It was a good time fishing. I was fishing, and that was great. But I was reminded of something while I was riding back to launch. I'm in this for one thing. Yeah, would I love to be a pro angler? Absolutely. Would I love to make the EQs? Absolutely. But at weigh-in stage, I'd had a bad tournament. I was ready to just get off the stage. Day 1, I didn't say a word. Day 2, I got up and I talked about veteran suicide. I mentioned how many veterans we lose and what we do at FX3 and what Take a Warrior Fishing is doing with me and Trey. It's our goal. We want to end suicide, obviously. Well, just for me speaking at the weigh-in, from weigh-in on Friday to waking up this morning, 139 people viewed FX3 according to Business Matrix on Facebook from that mention. So it reminded me, it gave me something joyous. Yeah, I woke up this morning, I'm depressed. This is my home lake. I mean, I should have done so much better. But I was reminded of why I'm in this. I'm not in this to win it. I'm in it to win the war against suicide. Yep. And that's how I want everyone to remember your life is better with you in it. The world is better with you in it. Your life matters. And FX3, Take a Warrior Fishing, me, Trey, Pete, Ben, we're all here for you. If somebody out there struggling, give them my personal number, and that's 912-270-3726. You got that 800 number, 1-800-273-8255, or you can text 988. And that's probably the biggest message I have for anyone today, and I want everyone to remember that. And that's my mission. That's our mission that we want to spread this year.
So yeah, man, Kissimmee Chain of Lakes was fun. There was a lot of lessons learned. Everything was a positive experience. And now we move on to Lake Eufaula, Alabama at the end of March, beginning of April. We actually have 2 opens events in April. That's Eufaula, and then Lake Norman. We come home. So we're looking forward to both of those. And then we have a pretty big gap. And then we don't touch a tournament, at least from the open side, until August up in Lake Erie out of Buffalo, New York. But the key thing for me is going to be fishing Fishers and Men with Pete, making sure that we stay sharp on the water, making sure that we actually do some pre-practice if we get the opportunity to do so. And I'll tell you, man, there's so much talent out here. Like it's absolutely. And Bobby Bakewell the other day, he said to Mike, he's like, man, this is my home lake. This is my home lake. And this was like the toughest that it's ever been on him before. And Bobby Bakewell he's a moneymaker, man, when it comes to the Florida stuff. He won the Tom Bigby River last year for the Opens. It was tough, but I will tell you, even though it was tough, every single person that I was fishing with, and I say fishing with or fishing next to on day 2, specifically, day 1 and day 2, but day 2 specifically, but they all had good attitudes. All of them did. It didn't matter. They were just out there. They were having fun. There was a lot of people that jumped in to jackpot the tournament. There's a lot of people fishing all 8 and stuff like that. But it was just a good time, man. And, that's what it's all about. It's, getting out there, having a good time, doing some fishing, see where the cards lay out. And, kudos to Cody Stahl, man. Like, great dude. He killed it. Like, he definitely needed to fish. I didn't think he needed to fish today, but after seeing 28-pound bags and stuff like that, like somebody could.
I went and looked. He still would have won, but it would have been barely.
Yeah.
He still would have won if he didn't fish today, but it would have been by less than a pound.
Mike Corbishley, good friend of ours, he finished really well. John Branch from the U.S. Army Outdoor Team, he had a great tournament. I think he finished in the 30s somewhere, cashed a check. Brandon Parsons got out there. He had a decent tournament. Everyone had fun, and it was a great experience, and I'm really happy to be a part of it and go hit the next one, man. And we're gonna put fork fishing sonar back on our boat, but I'm not gonna rely on that thing as much as I've been relying on it. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, awesome. I know I was almost perfect there. We're at 57.
Yeah,
perfect on the wrap up.
Is there any questions in the chats? Hal, I'll get with you offline about the Airbnb situation.
I was saying we did stay at one on the lake. We did stay at an Airbnb on the lake. Or did you stay at an Airbnb near the lake?
Oh, yeah, near the lake for sure. Yeah,
we were only like 13.9 miles, but traffic.
Yeah.
13.9 miles in the evening from launch would take you about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. That was like, honestly, man, like that was the worst part of, if you were to say like what was the worst part of everything, it was the traffic. 100%. It was the traffic. So,
but I'll leave with that. It wasn't the traffic for me. I had a cookie as a snack on day 2, and I put it in my mouth, like just a tip, just to hold it while I was bending over to pick a rod up. It breaks off and falls in the water. Watching this cookie float next to my boat for 45 minutes before it sunk was the worst of this entire tournament.
Yep. Yeah, dude.
That's funny.
I'll never know what that macadamia nut cookie tastes
And,
like.
oh, by the way, so day 2 wraps up, and, Mike goes to get his boat, and his batteries had died in his net controller for his
at the end of the tournament. I always park my boat off away from the dock. I spot lock it with the remote. People look at me like, oh, that's so cool. I think it's cool too. Well, until your remote battery dies and you can't recall your boat, and it's just sitting out there floating out in the yonder. So I had to get a ride from somebody to my boat that's just sitting there spot locked all nice and pretty.
Hey. I had that happen to me. I quit doing it because I don't know if I got too far away from it when I went and got my truck and something, but it wouldn't respond when I tried to, and I had batteries in mine. It wouldn't. This was a few years ago. It wouldn't respond. I had to get a ride to go out to my boat too. It's just like I ain't going to do that again.
I do that all the time. I'm driven a mile away from my boat. That Garmin trolling motor, it always reconnects. But this time the batteries died. So it made it even worse. My keys to my truck were in my boat. Oh, that's why I was going. That's how I found out initially.
You were ready to roll.
I walked back to the dock to get my truck keys to put it back in the dock, and I said, "Well, there we go."
That's beautiful. You were ready. You were prepared.
Oh yeah, always. For sure.
Oh man, well that's awesome, guys.
Awesome. We'll be back. I guess we'll be back next Friday for live, and we'll film on Wednesday, I guess too.
Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, we'll get together and get our episode ready to go. We appreciate everybody jumping on today, asking all your questions. Trey, Mike, appreciate you spending some time this evening. I know it sounded like your dinner was about ready. I can smell mine through the shut office door, and it's making my mouth water. Appreciate you recapping this event. Looking forward to you getting back up here just in time for it to warm up a little bit. It's time to go hit Falls Lake and get ready for Fishers of Men to get started. So, appreciate everybody jumping on. Appreciate all your questions, interaction, all that. Make sure you check out all those sponsors that have been scrolling across the bottom. Make sure you check out FX3 Inc. Make sure you check out Take a Warrior Fishing. Come fish Special Operations Bass Anglers with us this year if you're able to. That's always a great event. And Mike hit it on the head. We're all out here to help put an end to veteran suicide and make sure folks know that they're loved and people care about them, and we want them here. So have a great evening. If you're in North Carolina, good luck with the Snowmageddon going on out there. And I thank you all for helping us continue to grow a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.